Good evening everyone. Thank you Mike for that great presentation. Some really good takeaways there, and actually works quite nicely into some of the things that I'm going to be talking about as well. So as I mentioned earlier, I run Proud Business Productions. We create high quality video content specialising in businesses and helping getting that content found online. I've been doing it for about 9 years now. In that time, I've worked with businesses from local trades like plumbers and electricians up to multinationals like Sainsbury's and Google. And I've learned quite a lot about what businesses are doing wrong with their video marketing. So that brings us on to the topic of tonight, the mistakes you're making with your business videos. So this talk is split into two parts really. The first part is more about video concepts, things that you should do before making your video, things you should include in your video. And then the second part is about how to make better quality videos yourself. I mean, I'd love to say to you, you should get me to come and film all your video content because then I'll be rich. But realistically, you need a lot of content nowadays and it'll get very expensive very quickly. So on to the first mistake I see businesses make. They don't have a singular, clear purpose for their video. What most businesses do is they have a video that's got multiple purposes. So they want to sell a product, they want to show off their showroom, they want to get people to meet the team behind the business. The problem is that if you have too many messages, they all get confused and people stop paying attention, they click away. So what sort of purposes can you have for your videos? It doesn't just have to be about view count, because sometimes view count doesn't even matter if you're reaching the right people. So what about providing customer support? Maybe you have an issue that you keep getting customer support calls about. You could create a video that solves this problem, push people towards it, and then that'll give you a reduction in your customer support calls. Or you want to show yourself as an expert in your field. So you could make a video giving really good, helpful advice that's targeted towards your audience. Or you want to grow your email list, so you could make a Facebook advert that tells people why they should download your lead gen and join your emailing list, so then they're in your sales funnel. Or you want to sell a particular product. Now that you know the purpose of your video, you need to work out how you're going to measure it. So for the customer support, do you have a CRM that's good enough to track exactly what each of your customer support calls are about, so then you can see if it's going up or down? Showing yourself as an expert, it's a bit harder to measure, but do you have good enough lead tracking in place so you know exactly what videos are driving leads in your business? Growing your email list is quite an easy one because most email marketing software nowadays has really good analytics. And selling a product, do you have good enough analytics on your website where you can tell exactly which video drove that traffic towards that page? Once you know how to measure it, then you need to start testing it. As with all marketing, it's all about testing and measuring. So again, for the customer support call, you can actually track whether it goes up or down. It could be multiple reasons it's not doing a job. It might be you're not getting to the point fast enough. It might be you haven't got it on the right page of your website. It might be that you're not promoting it properly. All these things you've got to pay attention to and then improve in future content. But you can get a lot more granular than that. Let's say you got one video, you want to sell a specific product, and you can chop that video up 5 different ways. You could have one with a voiceover over top, you can have one with text on screen, you can have one with alternate text on screen, so you've got a slightly different copy, you can have one with different background music and one with different footage. You can then set them up as adverts on Facebook, run them for about 12 hours, and then that will give you a good idea of what's working and what's not. So you can stop the ones that aren't working, and then you can either carry on with the ones that are, or you can change those a little bit and see if that improves it or makes it worse. Or you can take the ones that are working and pick a different target audience. So it's all about finding out what your potential customers want to watch by testing it. So the second mistake most businesses make is they don't get their viewers to self-identify at the beginning of the video. So you get bombarded nowadays on social media. There's so much content, it's easy to just scroll through it. One of the best ways to get your viewers to pay attention is to get them to self-identify. And this basically means they see themselves represented on screen. Easiest way to do this, ask a question at the beginning of your video that relates to your audience. So if you're a plumber, it could be, how do I bleed my radiators? Or it could be, when is a good time to replace my boiler? For a business coach, it could be, how do I get my business to pass the £1 million profit mark? The idea is the people, they see these questions and they think that relates to me, I need to know the answer to that, and they keep watching. The best way to do it though, is to use your customer avatar. And if you're not sure what a customer avatar is, it's basically a rundown of your ideal customer and everything in their life. So their age, their sex, where they work, where they live, their job role, the car they drive, the type of house they have, what they do at the weekends, what their family life's like, everything you can think of. And then once you've got this information, you can then include it in your video. So it could be you're, again, with a business coach, you're looking to reach new tech startups. So you could show someone that's driving a Tesla, they work in Shoreditch and they live in a nice big house in the countryside. So the person watching that thinks, oh, that looks like me, and subconsciously I think this video must be for me, I need to keep paying attention. So on to the third mistake, your footage is boring. And there's a really good reason for this. Get my phone out my pocket. Everyone, when they take footage, they get their phone or they get their camera and they put it up to their face and they take all their video at this height. That means everyone's footage looks the same, which means it all looks boring. One of the great things about digital technology nowadays is the ability to delete stuff, which means you've basically got unlimited storage. When you think back on how things used to be, either photo or cinema film, you had to take your footage, you had to take your shot, and then you had to get it developed and then see if it worked or not. So it's a long process where you're experimenting and you're finding what works and what doesn't. Nowadays, you can take a video, you can look at it, go, that doesn't work, delete, try something else. So let me show you a couple of examples. As we're in lockdown, I haven't been going out filming many businesses, so all my experiment footage is of my dog and my girlfriend, so enjoy that. So this is my dog Cleo. It's a pretty standard top-down shot, looks pretty cute, but it's still pretty boring. So why don't we try a low angle? I don't think this really works, you can't see her eyes, it's not very interesting, so I'll delete that, I wouldn't use that one. How about going from the front to then round to seeing what she's looking at? It's getting a little bit more interesting, but why don't we try something else with your dog running towards you? That's a lot nicer. Or seeing things from another perspective of how your dog sees the world. Another example is some flowers. Pretty boring, but what about if you got down on the ground and you moved through the flowers? This is something that people don't normally see. So it's gonna attract their attention a lot more. But you've got to be careful when you're doing things like this, because using different angles, different heights, different movements gives different meaning and feelings to your footage. So I'd love to know what you think in the chat. These two shots, what feelings and what meaning does it show to you? Let me know in the chat. Okay, well, I'm just waiting for those to come in. I'll give you my answers and then I'll see if you got them right. So I'd say the first shot, this one, the low angle, I would say that's confidence, that's power, that's heroics, that's knowledgeable, professional. Whereas the looking down, you're small, you're isolated, you're unconfident. So just by moving the camera, you're giving a different feeling. So when you're talking to the camera, this is especially important. I like to have things at an even eye line, so the lens is the same height as my eyes, because that puts me on the same level as the viewer. If you maybe wanted to appear a bit more, I wouldn't say confident, but maybe you want to be a bit more of a leader, you can move it down slightly, not as low as this shot, but you can move it down slightly so that you appear more powerful. When would you use the other shot, the shot looking down? Maybe you want to show a transformation in your video of your customer. So maybe you're a hypnotherapist and the first shot is the looking down, it's lonely, you're not confident, you're not sure what's going on. And then you can talk about how you help people and how you transform their lives. And then the last shot is the power shot, it's the hero shot. and it really shows that journey visually from powerless to powerful. What about adding a bit of movement into your shots as well? Because movement also conveys meaning. So this first one, going from left to right, can be seen as a change of view, a change of opinion, coming round to someone else's way of thinking. Or this shot pushing in can be a realization. You've come up with a good idea. You're seeing things a little bit differently. Or we can just make movement a bit more interesting. So you could have a revealing shot where it goes from low to high or high to low and reveals what you're looking at, just to create a bit of intrigue. And we can see the same here. So it's all about experimenting and seeing what works and what doesn't, just paying attention to what you're doing. Which leads me on to this mistake. The fourth mistake is you don't think about the framing in your video. So what is framing? Framing is where you position things in your picture, and as a general rule you want the most important thing to be the biggest thing as well, because in your brain it's saying if it's this big it must be the most important. A really easy way to make better looking shots is to use the rule of thirds. So the rule of thirds is if you divide your shot into thirds and put a line on each of those thirds, if you put your subject on one of those lines, or even better where those lines intersect, it just balances the shot a lot more and makes it more visually appealing. You can find options in your camera and your phone. These are called frame guides, and you can turn them on so you can judge where you need to place things. But well, I'll move on to that in a minute. But what you want to do basically, if you've got someone talking to camera, you want their eyes to be on that top third line. If you've got more of an interview style where the person's looking off the camera, you want their eye that is furthest forward to be on the intersection, and you want more room in front of their face than behind. And if you're shooting landscape style stuff, you want one of the lines to be on the horizon, and you want the picture to be filled up with the bit that's more interesting. But what if you want to break these rules? What if you want to convey something that's not so balanced? So let's say this is a pretty standard shot, it's balanced, it's on the third line, but if you move over to the other side, I'd say this looks like someone might come up from behind you. It's a bit scary. You probably see it quite a lot in horror films. So how could you use this? Let's say you're a security company and you've got an app on your phone that alerts people when you're in danger. So you could start off with this shot where the person's uncomfortable. They probably look a bit sadder than Hayley does right there, but I can't help making her smile. And then after they get out their app and they check everything's okay, then it moves over to the other side and they're safe. Or you could move the person to the bottom of the screen, and this says to me maybe the world's getting on top of you. Things aren't quite right, the whole world's a bit out of balance. So like I've been saying before, you need to experiment to see what works. So the last mistake we're going to talk about today is you don't edit your videos. And editing doesn't need to be as complicated as buying professional software and learning how to use it. It can be as simple as cutting the beginning and the end off of your clips. Like, you know, the bit where you press record and then you're looking to see if it's recording, and then you start talking, and then at the end of the video you're fiddling around trying to press a stop button and it's not working. Just clip those bits off of your video, which you can do in your camera app on your phone, and it instantly makes it look a lot more professional. But now you can get free editing apps on your phone, like iMovie on the iPhone, and this allows you to do a bit more. This allows you to clip out bits within the video. So maybe you've got a few seconds pause about where you're thinking about what you're going to say next, or maybe there's a bit where you trip over your words quite a lot. You can clip that bit out and put those two bits back together, but that's going to start to make your video a bit disjointed because you'll be suddenly moving around. Now you can add in a bit of B-roll, and B-roll is extra footage that shows what you are talking about. So with the examples that I've been giving tonight, that is B-roll. So what you can do is just get the B-roll, drag it on top of your interview layer, and then it hides those cuts. From there, you can add a bit of music as well in the background, and it's amazing how much atmosphere the right bit of music really adds to a video. And then maybe you could add a graphic on the end where you got your call to action. So, like everything I've been saying tonight, different editing gives you a different feeling and a different meaning. And this was pioneered, I believe it is in the 1950s or 1960s, by a Russian theorist called Kuleshov. And his theory was your feelings on a clip changes depending on which clip you see before it. And let me show you what I mean. So in this first example, we see a bowl of soup, and then we see a man and he looks hungry. Second example, we see a little girl in a coffin, and then we see the man and he looks sad, he looks depressed. And then in the third clip, we see a woman on a chair, and we see the man, and he's a bit of a perv. So what if I told you that the shots of the man are the exact same shot for each clip? It's the clips before that are colouring your feeling and colouring the meaning of the expressions on his face. So you really need to think about what clips you are putting together. Are you going from a certain shot back to you and your face may be misconstrued as saying something that it's not? Again, you just need to experiment and see what works. Test it, put it out to your audience, see what feedback you get, and then improve on the next time. So just to wrap up, I'll go over the 5 points again. Number one, you don't have a single clear purpose for your video that you can test and measure to improve for the next time. Number two is you're not getting your audience to self-identify in a video so they see themselves represented and feel like the video is for them. Number three, your footage looks terrible because you're taking it at head height and you're not experimenting enough and giving people shots that they wouldn't normally see in everyday life. Number four, you're not framing your shots, you're not thinking about your framing and what meanings that framing gives to your shots. And number five, you're not editing your videos as simply as cutting off the beginning and the end.